Studio. Chaps, let's talk Amir Khan. Bunsey, trained by that rubbish trainer Freddie Roach, of course. Is he back on track after that victory over Barrera?
Well, he's back somewhere, and what he is, he's back in what passes for the boxing big time, in the sense that that's raised his profile. It was an inspired piece of matchmaking, and in America, his profile has been raised. Once again, all of the domestic fighters who he should be fighting have been conveniently forgotten. I'm not trying to be cynical, I'm not trying to knock Khan, because I'm going to add one final point here. Had we seen Barrera in the ring with a guy called Antonio DeMarco, or had we seen Barrera in the ring with a guy called Anthony Peterson, two Americans, or Mexican Americans, both with similar records, both about the same age, and actually both about the same height, we would be on this show now. We'd have emails and texts saying, Bunsey, talk about DeMarco. That job he did on Barrera was brilliant. God, Bunsey, talk about Peterson. You only talk about British fighters. Talk about what Peterson did to Barrera. But we didn't. It was our Amir. And the first thing many people did, both in the audience and at ringside, was the instant it was waved off, 33 stitches in a gash on his head. As soon as it was waved off, oh, he was shot anyway. He was finished anyway.
And I think even before the cut happened, we had seen elements of Khan that were better, even though that was only for 2 minutes. He was more controlled in what he was doing, and clearly had learned from the lessons given to him by Freddie Roach at the Wildcard Gym. Yeah, and to be honest, at times I thought he was almost too stiff.
Cautious, yeah.
But that's the way it has to be in this revising process. And I think a point we must not overlook, because we made a lot of this when we went to Las Vegas for Hatton's last fight against Paulie Malignaggi, about how he was going back to the MGM Grand Arena, the site of his only defeat against Floyd Mayweather. Now, Amir Khan was going back to where he'd been pounded in 54 seconds by the unknown at that stage Colombian Bradis Prescott. Same dressing rooms, same walk to the ring, same type of preparation, and yet he overcame that as well and made such a confident start. That was what was, for me, was outstanding about the performance. And yes, there's been a lot of reviews afterwards saying that the cut spoiled the fight. Maybe I agree with that, but we still saw plenty from Amir Khan that suggested without the cut it may have gone 12 rounds and may have been a fascinating learning experience, but we'd already seen enough to suggest that Khan was too big, too powerful and too quick as well. His speed was absolutely blinding.
Martin in St Anne's has texted on 85058. Bunsey, please ask Steve and Mike, if Amir is looking for opponents, why not a rematch with Prescott?
That's something Amir claims he wants the rematch. So I would imagine Frank Warren will be sitting back and saying, listen, okay, we still don't know enough about Prescott. He's had one fight since. He won on a disqualification when he was bitten about the 10th round. Didn't actually look sensational. Certainly didn't look like the kind of guy that would destroy Amir Khan in 54 seconds. So we let Prescott have a couple more fights. This is Frank Warren talking. We'll get Amir in a title fight. Could be this summer. I'm seeing Wembley. I'm rubbing that crystal ball. That little baby's shining. I'm seeing an outdoor fight. I'm seeing a world title fight sooner rather than later. And the reason is I think there's going to be a couple of titles up for grabs. I think the WBO title is going to fall vacant in the next 2 or 3 months. And I also think there's a chance for the IBF. A guy from, I think, Minsk in Belarus is going to fight for it. I think that's one option. I think it's going to be a massive outdoor fight with lots of the Olympians on sometime in June or July. That's one thing I'm sensing. It's going to be hard, though, and Frank Warren has admitted it's going to be really hard plotting the route for this kid now. Not because he's afraid of letting this kid fight anybody, although like any promoter he needs to be sensible, but because there are some sensational boxers in the top 10 of the lightweight division, and Khan is in that top 10. I got to tell you, I wouldn't put Khan in with anybody in what passes for my top 10.
And at the moment as well, you're talking about maybe a world title fight next, Steve. I can't see it next. It was a good restoration process there against Marco Antonio Barrera, but I still think there needs to be more done to this rebuilding of Amir Khan. And there are opponents out there, like, for example, a Nate Campbell, who's now 37, lost the title on the scales. Somebody like a Michael Katsidis. I know he's bull-like strong,
but you're
maybe susceptible to the speed. David Diaz, who looked very pedestrian against Manny Pacquiao. Yeah. So there are opponents out there that would be good stepping stones. It's still very good fighters, but could qualify
my
as
feeling is,
stones.
Mike, if you don't grab that WBO title, someone like Casamayor gets hold of it, someone like Guzman gets hold of it, someone like Valero gets hold of it, and you can't wrench it free, and they know you've got a massive, they'll demand such ridiculous amounts of cash. That's my fear. That's why I have a feeling he might rush a fight early rather than a fight late.
And again, it's about timing, as was the fight against Antonio Barrera.
Okay, we've got Nigel